Trump considers suspending habeas corpus. On May 9, 2025, the nation faced a chilling possibility. The Trump administration might suspend habeas corpus. This right guarantees individuals the ability to challenge their detention. Stephen Miller confirmed the administration was considering this measure. He cited illegal immigration as the justification. The administration's stance hinges on a specific clause in the Constitution. This clause permits suspension during times of rebellion or invasion. However, the administration's interpretation is troubling. They argue that the influx of undocumented immigrants constitutes an invasion. This interpretation stretches the Constitution's meaning. Experts argue it represents a dangerous overreach of power. Suspending habeas corpus would be a radical departure from democratic norms. The Constitution grants this authority solely to Congress. It would undermine the foundation of American justice. The potential consequences are deeply concerning. The right of habeas corpus is a cornerstone of American jurisprudence. It ensures that no person can be detained indefinitely without due process of law. The writ of habeas corpus compels the government to bring a detainee before a court. The court then determines if the detention is lawful. The Constitution acknowledges the importance of this right. However, it also recognizes that extraordinary circumstances may arise. In times of rebellion or invasion, the government may need to temporarily suspend habeas corpus to ensure public safety. The framers included this exception with great care. They understood the potential for abuse. Therefore, they placed the power to suspend habeas corpus in the hands of Congress. This decision reflected their belief that such a momentous decision should be made by the legislative branch. The Trump administration's interpretation of the rebellion or invasion clause is deeply flawed. Equating undocumented immigration with an invasion is a dangerous distortion of the Constitution. This interpretation sets a perilous precedent. It could allow the executive branch to bypass Congress and unilaterally suspend fundamental rights. The history of habeas corpus in the United States is not without its shadows. There have been instances where this right has been suspended. These instances offer valuable lessons about the dangers of executive overreach. During the Civil War, President Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. He did so in response to the extraordinary circumstances of the conflict. However, even in that tumultuous period, the legality of his action was challenged. The Supreme Court, in the case of Ex parte Merryman, ruled that Lincoln's suspension was unconstitutional. This ruling underscored the principle that only Congress has the authority to suspend habeas corpus. Lincoln, despite his immense wartime powers, was bound by the Constitution. Another notable instance of habeas corpus suspension occurred during World War II. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt authorized the internment of Japanese Americans. This dark chapter in American history demonstrates how fear and prejudice can erode civil liberties. Section 4. A clash of powers. The judiciary pushes back. The Trump administration's immigration policies faced consistent opposition from the judiciary. Courts repeatedly blocked administration actions. These rulings highlight the importance of an independent judiciary. One notable case involved the Alien Enemies Act. Judges rejected the administration's argument of a national security threat. They ruled insufficient evidence of an invasion. The Supreme Court ordered the return of Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. These clashes show the judiciary's role in holding the executive accountable. Section 5. A slippery slope. The potential consequences of suspension. The potential consequences of suspending habeas corpus are far-reaching and deeply troubling. It would undermine the very foundation of American justice and could lead to widespread human rights abuses. Without the ability to challenge their detention, individuals suspected of immigration violations could be held indefinitely. This would create a system where people are deprived of their liberty without due process. The lack of judicial oversight could lead to abuses within detention centers. Furthermore, the administration's suggestion that the crackdown could expand to target U.S. citizens is particularly alarming. This raises the specter of political persecution. Critics of the administration could be silenced through arbitrary detention. Suspending habeas corpus would send a chilling message to the world. It would signal that the United States is willing to abandon its commitment to the rule of law. This would damage America's standing in the world and undermine its moral authority. The suspension of habeas corpus is a dangerous proposition. It is a threat to the rights of all Americans. We must resist any attempt to erode this fundamental right.